Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Tea with Publicity, presented by my favorite tequila hard seltzer, Mamitas. Mamitas is a hard seltzer with real tequila, and it comes in 4 delicious flavors: mango, pineapple, paloma, and lime. I know you guys know that my number one is Paloma, and I saw someone from the Tea Tribe this weekend tag me that they had bought the Paloma and they were drinking it. So I love you guys for taking my recommendations and trusting me. And if you want to try it yourself, you can get it in the variety pack or you can get it in one of the flavors, and you could find it at drinkmamitas.com or order it on GoPuff. So I hope you guys like it as much as me. I know you will. If you're a tequila drinker, there's nothing not to like. It's so good. So let's get into this week's episode. Okay, there's a lot. So first of all, I want to lay out what's gonna happen here today. So I have I'll do my intro as I do. We'll catch you up on the couch update, and I have some advice I want to share with you guys. Then we will go into the interview this week, which is with Kailee Peppers from Cheer. She is the person that stepped in to help Monica when Monica went on Dancing with the Stars and they needed a coach. And I asked her all of the logistical questions that I have been dying to know. Like, I don't get it. Why could you just join the team and not join the team? If it's a college sport, how are people just coming and going? And if it's a 2-year college, then how come some people are on the team for 4 years? Like, what are the logistics? What is the dynamic? She answers all my questions. I feel like people at home are wondering these things, and I finally had the chance to ask them to someone. So hopefully it will clear it up for you guys too. After the interview, as always, we will do the Ask Alyssa segment, and I'm going to tease part of a new segment, the Scandies segment, which is something new that I am introducing, which I will tease later. And then we will wrap up by spilling the tea. We have to discuss Euphoria, the finale, Love is Blind, and I picked up a new show, Joe Millionaire, which I want to talk about. So stick around for that. While I have you guys here in the beginning of the episode, I do want to just acknowledge what is going on in Ukraine. Obviously, it's awful. There is a war going on. Innocent people are dying, and it just doesn't feel right to not acknowledge that. Obviously, I know what's going on. I'm reading the news. I'm very sad about it, but my job is to entertain you guys and to bring you laughs and make you feel good. So that's what we're going to do here today, but I didn't feel comfortable not addressing what's going on over there. And also, I did post something on my stories where you could donate if you're interested in sending some money over. I did last night to help with refugees. So any questions, feel free to ask me, but I did just want to let you guys know that that is top of my mind. And if you guys have any family over there, or if you're affected, or even if you're just battling with mental health or a hard time around this, my thoughts and prayers are with you. So I have a really exciting announcement. I have a live show coming up on April 7th. I mentioned this on my last podcast, but I did pick a Thursday because I know some of you like to come in from out of town, which is so exciting. And it's going to be so fun. We're going to have merch on site for you guys to buy. We'll have photo moments. I'm obviously going to do an after party again because I just had so much fun meeting all of you. And my new merch is going to be so cool. I'm hand sketching it all myself. It's going to be Let Me Live merch, Scandies merch. It's just, I love it. I'm so excited. And I know some of you are unsure about coming alone, and my last show, a lot of people actually came alone. So if you guys are nervous, you could join my Facebook group. Everything's always linked to my Instagram, and join there, and you can meet up with people. I know last time a lot of people coordinated to meet, and then at the after party, I remember talking to this big group of girls, and I was like, oh my God, are you guys friends? How long have you known each other? And they were like, no, we just met each other tonight through you. And I was like, oh my God, I love you guys. So that is a great way for you guys to meet new people, whether you're in New York or you're coming from out of town. So definitely join the Facebook group. Okay, another thing I want to share. I love giving people advice. I've always kind of joked that if I could pick a different profession in the world, it would be to be a guidance counselor, which is like so funny that I choose that and like not a therapist, but I just love giving people advice. And I feel like I found a new niche on TikTok because I have been out here on this app giving advice left and right, and people are loving it. And I actually, half of the things I talk about on there are things I want to talk about on the podcast. And I gave some advice about what to do if you send a screenshot to the wrong person. So I'm going to give you guys a little example. Let's say I'm talking to a guy. We'll call him Steve. And Steve and I are going back and forth, and I'm unsure about something he said, or I need advice on how to respond. So I take a screenshot of my conversation with Steve and I text it to Gia. I'm like, Gia, like, here's the screenshot. But I accidentally send it to Steve. So now Steve is like, why am I getting a screenshot of our conversation? This is what you do. You say, hey, Steve, oh, sorry, I was just sending that because my messages, I'm not sure if they're going through. My phone is like being so glitchy and so weird. It says I have service, but for whatever reason, my messages, my friends keep telling me they're not receiving them. Is this the last message you had from me? And then Steve will be like, oh yeah, that's the last message I have from you. And you're like, okay, great. Done. He never suspects that you were talking about him, that you were sending a screenshot of your conversation to someone else. It only works in those kinds of situations. Someone else had commented on my video saying, if you send a conversation to a friend that you were having with them, you could always say to them, I just wanted you to read this back from my perspective and tell me how you would, how this information would sound if you were on the receiving end, which is also good. I'm aware this is toxic. I think it's okay to do this if it's with a guy and a girlfriend. If you're doing this to friends, you're probably a bitch and you're talking shit. But let's be honest, everyone on TikTok is like, or you could just not talk shit. It's like, we all talk shit. Hello, Mother Teresa. Like, come on. Everyone talks shit. So that is my piece of advice. My piece of advice that I gave today, which I stand by wholeheartedly, is this. I have the best pickup line. I think it is fantastic. If you are at a bar and you see a cute guy or girl and you guys are making eyes at each other and they're not coming up to you and you're not necessarily going up to them, you have a little buzz in you, you walk up to them and you just simply say, you look so familiar. Where do I know you from? And then all of a sudden they're like, I don't know. I live here. Where do you live? And you're like, no, that's not it. I went to school here. Where did you go? I grew up here. Where did you grow up? All of a sudden you're talking, you're exchanging information. And if it's meant to be, you'll keep talking. If not, you say, oh, must have been someone else. And you walk away. No harm, no foul. It's just an easy way to strike up a conversation with a stranger. And I think it's pretty damn foolproof. So that is my wisdom for this week. And I want to get into the interview now with Kaylee. And don't forget to stick around after because we have the new segment, Ask Alyssa, and we'll spill the tea. So here's the interview. Kaylee, thank you so much for joining me. I am so excited because I have so many questions about cheer that I'm hoping you could help me answer.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
So, okay, I have logistical questions. I'm hoping you could help. So,
Okay.
well, first of all, I want to know all about you and how, what brought you to Navarro and then
Yeah.
brought you to working with Monica.
Okay, so growing up, I am from Ohio, Columbus, Ohio, and my parents actually own an all-star cheerleading gym up here. So my entire life has been cheerleading, and that's all my parents did too. So that's just what has literally just been instilled in me since I was 6 or 7 years old. So I did all-star cheerleading up here in Ohio, and then when it was time for me to go to college, I actually was recruited by Trinity Valley first.
Ah.
And I actually was on the team. I was like, okay, I'll do it. I had no idea what college cheerleading was. I honestly wanted to go to Texas to do all-star cheerleading because it's a lot more intense down south than it is, up north. And so I did that, and then just word of mouth, people talking and knowing mutual people. Someone mentioned to Monica that I was moving to Texas, and she didn't know that Trinity Valley had recruited me. So they called me and asked me to do Navarro, and my parents were like, yes, you have to. And so I had to politely decline Trinity Valley at the end of it. And so that's how I got to Navarro.
So, like, what? Okay, the logistics questions that I have already are popping up for me because, like, what makes Navarro the school that people want to go to over these, like, big 10, like, these huge colleges with, like, could cheerleaders join dance teams? Like, are there other routes you guys could take? Like, what
Yeah.
makes Navarro so special?
I think that what makes Navarro so special compared to other, college programs is that I think so many kids don't want to let go of all-star cheerleading, and a lot of college programs don't have, all-star cheerleading near them or allow them to do both. Whereas at Navarro, you're allowed to do both, and I feel like that brings so many kids there because it opens so many doors for them to be able to do all-star cheerleading and college cheerleading, and it's so intense at Navarro while still focusing so strongly on academics. Um, Kids just want to come because we just push that much harder because we only are a 2-year school.
Okay, and that's my other question. So, is it? I remember when I went to college, like the NCAA, like players, if you didn't play your freshman year on the football team, then you could stay a fifth year and play, but you could only like legally play 4 years on a professional team. Is it the same for cheer? Because I think a lot of like viewers were confused knowing that Navarro is only a 2-year college, but then like people keep coming back, and I'm just like, what is the eligibility? Like, what are the logistics?
Yeah.
That's what I think like the consumers
Okay.
are so confused about.
Yeah. So when with NCAA college nationals, you can only compete 5 times.
Okay.
And out of those 5 times, you can only compete JUCO 3 times. So you can be on Navarro for a year. And like, let's say you don't compete, you don't make the mat, you're an alternate. That doesn't go against your eligibility. So you just spent a whole year at Navarro, but you
Oh.
didn't use your eligibility. So then people come back for a second year and then a third year. Some people have even gone for a fourth year because they didn't make the mat, the first or the second time. And they're like, we're going to make the
I
mat.
get it. So you could really come back as many times as you want as long as you're only actually professionally competing 3 times.
Yes.
Oh my God, that clears it up so much because
Yes.
I think that's the one thing that like people at home watching are really confused about. Like we see Gabby Butler coming back and we're kind of like, what? How do you just keep like popping back in?
Yeah, it's crazy. Last year when I coached, we had probably like 3 to 4, maybe 5 people that were fourth years. They were there 2 years, and then COVID was their third year in 2020, and then it hit, so they didn't get to compete. So
Mm.
then they came back for a fourth year. So there were so many people on the team last year
But you
that were.
actually have to be enrolled in school to be on the team. That's my other question.
Yes,
So you
yes.
have to be
So
taking courses.
yes, but most of them, if they've already done their 2 years and they completed their associates, they will take like 1 or 2 classes at Navarro and then dual enroll at a university.
Okay, so you could, wow, okay, this is so helpful. So you could technically be at a college on their team and on Navarro?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it's almost, is it because Navarro like isn't in the NCAA? It's like its own category kind of?
Well, I'm not really
Yeah,
sure
I don't
about
know.
that.
I'm like just
I,
trying to wrap my
I
head
think
around this.
I think any JUCO, I think if they're like affiliated with the university, because I know that the university that they dual enroll in is Texas A&M, I believe.
Mm.
Like they work like hand in hand together. So I think that that's how that works.
Oh my God. Okay,
So
this cleared
they're
up
not
so
enrolled
much.
at any university. It's Texas A&M.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that's like was my biggest question with people just like coming back and leaving. And when you're watching the show, you're kind of like, how, if it's a college, like, how are people coming and going? How are they eligible? So that like really helps clear it up for me.
Yeah.
So how many years did you compete? Through all three
How many years did I compete altogether or with Navarro?
with Navarro?
I competed 3 years with Navarro.
That's awesome. And did you win
Yeah.
any of those three or all of them?
I won 1 year as an athlete, lost the other two, and then I coached them in 2018 and we won that year.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So, how is it working with, like, how is it going from being a student of Coach Monica to then, like, being beside her?
Honestly, for me, it wasn't much different. I had come from my parents owning a gym, and so
Hmm.
from a very young age I was trained to be a coach, and so I trained for many years. I worked with NCA college staff all summer long, training with other colleges. And then when you're at Navarro, you're as an athlete, you're kind of trained to be a coach. When you're a second year and a third year, you teach the first years. And Monica and I were always very close, so stepping into that role position next to her, it was easy. It was just like as if I were on the team. I just wasn't actually competing again.
Well, especially like you said, I think it's important for people to realize the way you grew up, because like you grew up in a gym knowing your parents
Yeah.
having that dynamic, going through that dynamic your whole life. So for you, it's probably just such a natural progression in your life to all of a sudden start coaching.
Yes, for sure. And as an athlete, I was always someone that like was a leader
Mm-hmm.
and pushed the team, helps them, teach them, and things like that. So
Wow, it was interesting to watch this past season, season two, because it was really like three seasons in one, with the pandemic and you coming in halfway through and Monica going on Dancing with the Stars, and there was just like so many storylines and things that kind of played out
yeah.
um, in real time with the pandemic and everything going on. Was it really stressful for you guys to not know what's coming next? Like, are we working this hard for it to get canceled again?
Well, I wasn't there in 2020 with them. I was actually at Texas Tech to compete. As far as 2021 season, by the time we started filming, we only film second semester, so the
Mm,
spring. By that time, we knew that we were going to compete. The first semester was very up and down. We had no idea what was going on. But second semester, we pretty much knew. Our only concern was hopefully no one got COVID right before
yeah.
we
Oh
left.
my God,
We
yeah.
were testing 2 and 3 times a week, so like that was very scary.
And then I know you guys announced that you're going on tour, or Cheers going on tour. Are you part of that at all?
No, I'm not going on tour.
Oh, too bad. I want to go. I want to see it, because I saw
Yeah.
some people posting on social media being like, I thought I was done with Cheer, but I guess I'm back now.
Yeah, they actually were supposed to we were supposed to go on tour the summer of 2020, and then COVID. So that got canceled and it got pushed back to this summer. So it's very exciting.
Oh my God, there's so much going on. Is it hard for you guys, or you in particular, to navigate like the real life everyday practice with then the press and the social media? I feel like it's almost like you're living in two worlds. You're living in like the cheer world, and then you're living in the like celebrity world, trying to also be a public figure now.
Yeah. Honestly, it is a little bit stressful, but it's honestly so much fun. Our schedules are very wide open, and we do whatever we can to fit in as much practice as we need. If we need to bring some type of press to practice, we do. And
Hmm.
we'll shoot a video right before we practice, and then we don't miss a beat. So it's honestly a lot of fun, and it's such a great experience for the athletes too.
It really is, because it's very unique. Like
Yeah.
what other sports team is out there performing and then being on Netflix, and it's really crazy. I almost think it benefits that everyone's really young, because like in college still, because you're at that age, you're like, what's being tired? Like you're exhausted, but you just keep going. Like the
You just
older,
keep going.
yeah, as I get older, I'm like, I need a bed.
Yeah. Literally, they're not sleeping anyway, so
Yeah,
it
they're
doesn't
like, it's
matter.
fine. So what are you currently doing? Like, do you still cheer, or are you coaching?
Yeah. So when I was coaching at Navarro, I had one more year of eligibility left. And so I was like, I want to use it so bad. I'll never get this opportunity again. And so I decided, like, right before Daytona last year, I wanted to go back to Texas Tech and cheer one more time. And then over the summer, when it came down to it, I was here in Ohio with my family, and I was like, you know what? I've been away from my family 7, 8 years.
Mm,
I'm having so much fun being here and like kind of living a normal life. I haven't lived a normal life my whole life.
yeah.
And so I decided not to go back. And so I moved back to Ohio just to be closer to my family.
I respect that,
Yeah.
because it's probably a tough choice to make when there's all these opportunities and there's all these things, and like you just kind of listen to your gut. You're like, this is where I feel
Yeah.
best right now.
Yeah, for sure.
That's good. So you're just kind of home living a normal life, like focusing on yourself.
Yes, exactly.
I love that. I think I like talk about mental health a lot on this podcast, and I think it's really important to be able to like make those decisions and to
Mm-hmm.
be like, this is what feels best for me right now. And now you always still have that year. You can still go back, right, for that final, or
I
no?
still could. I still could, but I probably won't.
You're like, I'm hanging up the sneakers. Like, I'm done. The
Yep.
pom-poms.
Yep.
Oh my God. It's crazy because like when we look at stuff like the Olympics or people performing at such a high level, there's obviously like Olympic gymnastics. And what is there for a cheerleader to do if they want to continue their career after college, but they're like, what other avenues do you see people going into usually?
Usually, people just become coaches. There's
Mm,
not really any, career that you can have as a cheerleader where you can, make money and have a living off of it and things like that. So once, you kind of age out of all-star cheerleading, or you're done with college cheerleading, or your body just can't do it anymore, 90% of cheerleaders become coaches.
I feel like that's what we need to change though. Like hopefully that's what this show is changing, like making it
Yes.
more of a higher level, reputable sport that people could really get behind because I think if anything, like we're all obsessed. So
No, I agree completely. Yeah, I wish that there was something, for like cheerleaders outside of being an athlete and things like that, or ways they can make a career off of it. Like people are like, well, why don't you guys do like the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders? But
hmm.
those are dancers. They're all
Okay,
dancers.
so that's where
So
I get confused because I'm like, but you guys are dancers. Like, or I'm like, why can't you be a gymnastic tumbler? Like, I get confused between the difference because in my head, I'm like, you guys do what they do, but more.
hmm we are like cheerleading is like a combination of like gymnastics and dance, with like a few of our own elements. So I could never be a gymnast. I don't have the tumbling technique, and I
Mm-hmm.
can never be a dancer because I don't have, I wasn't trained as a dancer. So they're very similar, but they're all three very different.
It's hard to make that kind of transition.
Yeah.
I see. Okay, that's interesting because that's kind of where my brain always went. Like, I think people watching were like, well, why can't you just, take it and do XYZ? But there's obviously a reason people don't, and it's because it's
Yeah,
different, and we just kind of all consider it to be the same, but it's just not.
exactly.
So, how was the dynamic, like, while you were filming with like Ladarius and the Jerry stuff? Like, was it a very heavy time, or do you think that people kind of compartmentalized what was going on with the show and outside, or was that stuff kind of seeping into practice at all?
When it came, we Ladarius wasn't on the team,
Mm-hmm.
so there was no like filming with him that year. We all knew the situations and everything like that.
Because it's on social
So
media.
yeah,
Yeah.
social media was definitely crazy.
Yeah.
Um, it was hard. It was hard for sure. Seeing a bunch of things, hearing a bunch of things all over social media, and you can't, defend yourself or
Mm,
say your side or anything like that. And then the show comes out and it still kind of doesn't do that. So that
mm.
was hard.
Yeah. And like I I felt like it was sad kind of watching all of the like the teammates kind of process all the information that was going on with Jerry and Ladarius and Monica leaving for Dancing with the Stars because I feel like it made everyone just in a spot of like confusion. And I felt for everyone watching it because that you have you coming in, which obviously you've been on the team and you're more than capable, but it's also confusing when people are like, we came here to cheer for Monica and now she's not here. Like it probably added a lot of pressure to your plate. Did you feel like you had huge shoes to fill?
Honestly, I didn't. Like, yeah, of course there was a little bit of pressure. Monica's gone, wasn't
Yeah.
there, but I was with the program for so many years. I know exactly how practices should be ran. I know exactly, how things should be done and what we need to do. Am I perfect? No, of course not.
Yeah.
Are my coaching styles exactly like Monica? No. But I think that when it came down to the show and like the kids' feelings and things like that, I don't think it showed exactly everything that they, were feeling and all the things
Yeah.
that they had to go through. And so I feel like it kind of just focused on that, on Monica being gone, and
Mm.
that wasn't, everybody was happy for her being gone. Yes, it was upsetting that she was
Yeah.
gone
They
in the
supported
beginning,
it.
but we loved watching her. We threw parties every time that she was dancing.
Yeah.
We all watched live.
No,
So
that's
I
that's
wish it
true.
would have shown all the struggles the kids actually had to deal with.
Interesting. Yeah, I think, well, first of all, kudos to you because I like your confidence. Like, you're like, no, I wasn't worried. Like, I think that's, it just goes to show that, like, you're doing the right thing and you're good at it and you're confident in it, because a lot of people would be intimidated or would be scared, but you're like, no, I know how things run and, like, it was fine. And I think that that's really cool, especially because, like I said, you do have all of this experience. But, yeah, I think with every reality show, there's definitely pieces that the viewer doesn't see.
Mm-hmm,
Is there anything you wish the viewers did see more of that we didn't?
I wish they could have seen us first semester, and I wish that, they kind of let Ladarius tell the story of the team first semester, which is I thought was very unfair. He wasn't on the team, and they make it out like he was.
They did make it out like he was. That's why I was confused.
So he wasn't on the team when the year started, and he tried. He reached out about coming back, and so I told him that was okay. And he came for 2 weeks at the end of the semester, and he wasn't allowed to practice with us because he wasn't enrolled in the school. And then we all had gotten sent home, and so that storyline was kind of confusing because it wasn't accurate. So I wish they would have seen all of the protocol that we had to deal with first semester and all the things we had to overcome. These kids came into the year, thinking Monica was going to be their coach, and then they get to their first practice and she's nowhere to be found. And they didn't get to find out for like 3 weeks where she was. So they're all kind of confused. And then we had crazy protocol for COVID. Our athletic department, was very, very strict, and they wanted to make sure that all sports, could, compete and play and things like that. So the team didn't even get to meet each other for like the first month or so. And they weren't allowed to hang out with each other. They weren't allowed to leave Corsicana. They weren't allowed to stunt for a very long time. It was hard. They weren't allowed to go out to restaurants. They weren't allowed to eat in their cafeteria. They had to go get their food, sit in their dorms by themselves with just their roommates. Like, it was sad. Hard. Yeah. And so it missed everything that we went through dealing with that and like overcoming, and all of the times where we weren't allowed to practice as a team and stuff like that. And I feel like that should have been shown because they came such a far way and they overcame all of that. And so
that's really interesting. Yeah, that really sheds some light because it did make it seem like Ladarius was there and he was super unhappy with Monica and feeling betrayed and you and this and that. But you're like, he wasn't even on the team. No. It kind of goes back to, honestly, my initial question, how you were like, he couldn't practice with us because he wasn't enrolled in school. That's why I'm happy. That's why I wanted those things cleared up, because that's what we don't get. We're like, how can you just pop into the team? And you're basically saying, no, you can't. Like, you can't practice unless you're in the program. And I think that's where, as a viewer, it gets confusing because we kind of just feel like people are coming when they please.
Yeah.
So it's like, wait, what? No.
Yeah, so that's definitely confusing for sure.
Oh my God. Well, this was so helpful and so nice, and I wish you nothing but luck. I hope to see you again on TV or coaching or something. Where could everyone follow you and stay up to date?
Instagram probably is where I'm most active.
Amazing. And what's that? It's at Kaylee.
It's at KXOPEP, KAIXOPEP.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks, Kaylee. That was great. Okay, guys, I know I just mentioned that I have new merch coming out, but in the meantime, don't forget that my old merch is still on the website. It's store.barstoolsports.com. I have the Self-Care Club sweatsuits. I have the Hibley merch. I have the Good Energy Only stuff. I mean, journals, blankets, mugs, the list goes on. So don't forget to shop the Barstool Sports Store at store.barstoolsports.com. And then you just go to brands and you hit publicity, and everything that I've created comes up there. And I know some things are limited, so get them while they last. Let's get into the new segment, the Scanty segment. So let me tell you guys what we're going to be doing here. So basically, I do Sunday Scandies. We know, I talk about it on my Instagram stories where people anonymously write in scandalous stories each week. What I will be doing on the podcast each week is giving you guys exclusive updates that you could only hear here on Tea with Publicity. So a lot of times people write in, I respond, and then I get hundreds of DMs being like, we need more info, we need more info. And it's a lot because, I mean, I get so many DMs specifically on Sundays. My DMs are blowing up. I try to answer everyone, but it's hard to keep up with it all. So when you tune in, you will be getting the exclusive tea on the Scandalous stories. So I have 2 updates for you guys from this past Sunday's Scandies, and we're going to go through them, and they're good ones. A lot of girl on girl. I didn't intend for it to be that way, but those are just the updates that I received. So we will go through this one first. They said, my first lesbian experience was with my cousin by marriage. We were in the 8th grade. She is now married to a guy I introduced her to, and I'm bisexual. So I said, I need more details. How did it go down? What's a cousin by marriage? Is it your cousin's cousin or step cousin? What is the dynamic like between you guys now? She said, cousins by marriage. Her dad and my stepdad are brothers. She was staying the night at my house. We snuck 2 Coors Lights from our parents. I don't know why I love the 2 Coors Lights. We were in my room. We kissed and just touched each other. We have never talked about it again and acted like it didn't happen. Honestly, a wild experience, and I've talked to my therapist about it many times. Well, listen, we do weird shit in 8th grade. Like, you know what I mean? Like, me and my friends, you're just in that weird experimental stage, and you're just like, what's making out? What's this? What's that? Like, you don't know what the hell you're doing.
Yeah. And you're not related by blood, so it's not weird.
It's fine.
Yeah.
And you're bisexual now, so maybe you were just
looking for some answers.
You were learning the ropes, yeah. But I'm sorry it haunts you. You had to go to therapy. Okay, we have another lesbian experience right here. Blacked out and hooked up with my BFF on vacay. We're both, quote, straight girls. She has a boyfriend. We've never talked about it, and it's awkward being around each other now. So I said, how long were you friends? How long were you friends for prior? Did you talk about it the next day? And how was the rest of the trip? She says, we've been friends for 10 years. Neither of us brought it up the next day or ever. The next 2 days left of the trip were so awkward. I was blacked out, so I don't remember much. All I remember was her fingering me and going down on me, and I don't remember me ever doing anything to her. She seemed to remember a lot of details from the rest of the day, so she wasn't as drunk as me. It's been 9 months since the trip, and we haven't hung out again. We have kept in touch through text. First of all, I feel like doing this with a friend of 10 years is very different than doing this with like a new flavor of the month friend, like someone that you've known for a few months, because 10 years means that like, why prior to those 10 years did this not happen?
Yeah.
So I'm thinking maybe the friend wanted it a little more than you. Not saying that you didn't either, because you went there, girl. But I don't know. Sounds like one of them might have some feelings. Yeah. That's what I'm thinking.
I'm thinking that too.
Okay, guys, those are your updates. There was one other Scandi that everyone's begging me for updates on. It was the girl who was hired to sext a politician so then they could use those text messages to leak to make him look like he was cheating on his wife. And everyone's asking for an update. I've DM'd her. We are waiting. Hopefully by next week, we'll have an update on the political scandal that came my way. But now we're going to do Ask Alyssa because, you know, with the bad, there needs to be a little good. With the Scandies, there needs to be a little tameness, a little bit of happiness. So hopefully now I could save some lives out here. I'm not going to give myself that much credit, but hopefully I could aid in helping people. So let's get into this week's Ask Alyssa. We have a long one here. Ask Alyssa, how do you emotionally handle interviewing? Long story short, something major in my current job changed and has left me frantically looking for a new job. I'm in the office full time and scheduling interviews is challenging enough. I keep having to make up lies to come in late, leave early or last minute and take the day off, and I am the worst liar on the planet, so it's been rough. On top of that, after barely fitting in the interviews and giving it my all, I'm dealing with rejection and having to start all over again. I don't know how to even start when I have drained all of my energy and am running out of excuses to do interviews. I guess my general question is what tips do you have for handling all of this, because I'm reaching my breaking point and dying for something to work out. Love you in the pod and appreciate your advice. I think that's the hardest thing. It sounds like you're in the office, not working from home, which if you were working from home, it would be so much easier. The only thing that you have in your favor is like Zoom right now, because with the pandemic, I don't know what area you live in. It does sound like you're having to go in person, but the employers have to be respectful of the fact that you have a current job. I used to just say like, hi, like I am currently employed and I can only interview, 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. because I would start work at 9 or 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. You leave an hour earlier or whatever it may be. And they just have to try to make it work around your schedule. And if you have to sometimes lie and go do it, like, then that's what you have to do. But I think otherwise, like, you just have to try to make it work. And in terms of the rejection, I kind of equate looking for a job to waiting for a guy to text you back. You know that feeling? Yeah. Like, you go on an interview, you think it went well, and then it's just agonizing as you wait to hear back from them. It's the same thing when you go on a date and you're just waiting for that guy to text you. There's nothing you could do, but it is just the worst feeling. I used to get so anxious interviewing because especially if you're miserable in your job, you're putting all your eggs into the basket of interviewing for a new company, and then you're just waiting, and it's so disappointing. You just got to keep trying. It sucks. There's not much you could do, but that's just the nature of the situation. And one day something's going to stick. I don't know if you have any other advice.
Yeah, no, you said basically everything that I was thinking. Just don't let the fear of rejection hold you back. Just got to keep trying, and eventually everything happens for a reason, so you'll find the right fit. And yeah, companies are always usually very accommodating. If you are already employed and are looking for interviews at that place, like I feel like they will be more than happy to help you like schedule an interview around their schedule and yours. You could try it on like Fridays, see if maybe like Saturdays or Sundays maybe they'll do interviews too.
Yeah, like sometimes they just need to work with you. I mean, it is what it is. Like, you have a job. What could you do?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, next question. Girl, I think I need some advice from the Tea Tribe on this one. It's a little long with a few different parts, so bear with me. I have been dating this guy for 3 years. He was previously married and has a 16-year-old son. I've never been married and don't have any kids. When we first met, he said that he would be open to having more kids, but a year into dating, he felt that he didn't have it in him to start over. He was open and honest about it, even though it was frustrating to me. I stayed with him because at 37, I felt I loved him and didn't want to have kids with just anyone. So why would I risk leaving a relationship that I loved? Fast forward 2 years and we have been having some issues. Nothing huge, but we haven't been gelling. I started to feel like he was having his cake and eating it too by having a live-in serious girlfriend but not committing in any way. I also started to second guess not having children because of someone else's decision. Important side note, I lived in his home, and when we would fight, he would break up with me and tell me I had to move out. That would also frustrate me because at 46 and 37, that immature threat should not be made in my opinion. I agree, girl. Yep. So 2 weeks ago, we got into a fight and he spent the week telling me I had to get out. So I did. I left and went to a girlfriend's house. He then kept calling me saying he regrets it, blah, 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 hot and cold. So this past Saturday night, I went out with a group of my guy friends. My boyfriend knows / has met most of them. One of my boyfriend's friends, who is a girl, mind you, was bartending and must have overheard us talking about going to another bar up the street. Well, I forgot my vest at bar number 1, and while I was at bar number 2, my boyfriend calls me to tell me that the bartender called him and told him I was on a date and that I forgot my vest. She also told him where I was going. He then proceeds to show up at the bar, sit across from me, waits for me to leave, and then confronts me in the parking lot. By the time I left, it was just me and one other guy, but it was the last thing from a date. He has now blocked me on everything, giving me a time and date to come get the rest of my stuff, and is literally accusing me of being on a date. My thing is, even if I was on a date, sorry, some of it's cut off. Okay, my thing is, even if I was on a date, you dumped me and kicked me out. Am I crazy? Am I being gaslit? Is it normal for a 46-year-old to act this way, a cop nonetheless. Am I crazy? I didn't leave with him from bar number 2 because I didn't want to fight and I didn't want the drama. I keep flashing back to him standing in the parking lot, and he did look like he was punched in the gut. But Jesus, Mary, and Joseph, you can't have things both ways. I feel like I'm going crazy, and I just need some T-Tribe input. I have so much to say.
There's so many red flags in that. So many.
The fact that you think you're crazy.
Yeah.
No. Okay. Where do I start? Okay. First of all, this isn't normal 46-year-old behavior. This isn't normal behavior for a 26-year-old. You shouldn't be at the point in your life where when you get in fights, like you're sleeping on the couch or you're getting kicked out of the house. He loves that power to be like, get out of my house.
Yeah.
And my parents, like old school Italian, like they didn't want my sister moving in with her husband until she was engaged. Didn't happen. She didn't listen to them. But my mom kept saying, like kind of the saying that you said, like why, whatever, milk the cow why something the cow when you get the milk for free. You know that saying. Because my parents they would always say, and they've always instilled in us, like, men get complacent, and if you're giving them everything they want without the long-term commitment, they're going to not be in a rush to commit to you. So I do agree with that. Like, you moved in with him, you gave up your life for him. He has no rush to make things official because he's getting what he wants without the commitment of having to buy a ring or legally marry you. So I think your gut is right. You know what's happening. Like, your gut's right. I think 37, while it's daunting to start over, like it's not the end of the world. You could totally go to a doctor, get checked out, see your ovarian reserve. Like, do you have eggs? Are you able to maybe have children on your own? What are your options? I think knowledge is power. And I think leave his ass. He isn't your guy. Like, just because you're 37, you shouldn't be like, oh, my life's over, so now I need to be with this douchebag.
Yeah.
You know, like sounds like he's gaslighting you, like you said.
Yeah, he sounds really hard to deal with, especially being so old. This guy's almost 50, and he's acting like a 15-year-old boy. Like,
which
the
means
fact
his
that
behavior.
He kicks you out every single time you have a fight. That's insane. And he has a child. Like, I just don't understand how he's so immature.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, it's not worth the drama and the stress. And you seem like you know what you want, and he definitely does not. Mm-hmm. So, again, like Alyssa said, it's never too late to try to start new. And you deserve someone that's not going to, like, put that pressure and, like, make you feel so shitty every single time something bad happens to your relationship. Like, it's a two-way street. And to show up at the bar and, like, freak out over you being on a date even though you guys broke up, that's just such red flags to me. Such red flags.
Also, I just had an epiphany come to me while you were talking, and because I'm thinking about the kids thing. Yeah. When you said he has a kid, you already succumbed, whatever that word is, you already came to terms with the fact that you were going to be with someone and not have children. So why are you scared to start over when you already were committing to a life without kids? Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like, what if you meet a great guy and he has kids that are younger and they become your family, or you're able to get pregnant and you have kids with him? It shouldn't have to be like a last resort type of thing. Like, you already kind of came to terms with the fact that, like, oh, that's just not going to be in my life. If it's something you want, 100% go after it. But my point is, if you've come to terms with the fact that you're not going to have kids, then who cares if you meet someone at 37 or 47? Yeah. Like, it's never too late to start over.
Yeah, totally.
Is the epiphany I had.
Yeah.
Give us an update when you get a chance, because I'm curious about this one. And for the rest of you, if there's ever any updates, like, email us. The email is twithpublicity@barstoolsports.com, and you could send long form Sunday Scandies there, as well as any Ask Alyssa questions. You could also always DM me, but the email's great. Everything's always kept anonymous. So, yeah, email us. And now we are going to spill the tea. There's so much. We're going to end with the Euphoria finale.
Yeah.
So, first of all, I told you guys last week, I think, that I started watching Joe Millionaire. After boycotting The Bachelor, I'm like, I'm going to watch Joe Millionaire. Like, of course, like, that's what I decide to sink my time into. I have thoughts. I wrote notes. Okay. I said both guys, like the two leading men, I said they are hot but too closed off for me. I don't know why I said that. Guys are hot but way too. Oh, I know why I said that. I don't know if it's just because it's on Fox, but I think they're like too right wing for me. And I don't want to make like assumptions, but they're like country guys who like like they are like they like live on farm, and they're very, for me, like I live in New York City. My life is so the opposite of that they seem to me a little. Oh, I know why I said they're closed off, because the one girl has a kid and is divorced, and the guy's like, yeah, no, like that's just basically that's a red flag to him. Like they just don't seem open-minded enough for me.
Yeah.
Like I just got the vibes like they grew up in a bubble and they want to live in a bubble, and they weren't open to anything like outside of that. And that to me was a little bit of a turnoff. Then, yeah, like the one that's the millionaire has never left the country. He's like not wanting to leave his farm life. Like they're great for the right kind of people that also have those interests. But I, of course, always put myself in the situation of like if I was a contestant.
Yeah.
And as a contestant, like I'm not living in your farm town personally.
I don't blame you.
I live in New York City. Like there's just no way. So those were just like my initial like thoughts. Funny enough, I know two people that were on the show. So Annie, who's like still in the show, she's like making it to the finals. I think she's gonna win. She like we've gotten breakfast together before because she works in PR, and we like did networking together. So it's so funny. So now I'm like rooting Annie on. I knew Monica from TikTok. She got voted off, I think, the first episode or second episode. But just such a small world. Really good show. Like good to change it up. I love it because they get drunk. Like it's not like The Bachelor with this 2-drink limit.
Yeah.
It's like they're hammering drinks and they're hysterically crying because they're so blackout and they're falling. And it's like it's kind of what The Bachelor used to be before they put all these like restrictions on it. My only thing is it's just like a little conservative for me, I want to say maybe. Also, guys, by the way, when I say stuff like that, I don't care if you are Republican, Democrat. I don't care what anyone is. I'm just saying for me, if I was to date someone personally, not necessarily aligns with what I'm looking for. Okay. Love is Blind. I watched the finale. Gia, remind me, are you watching Love is Blind?
No.
Do you care if I just spoil the whole thing?
No, I don't care. I mean, I've seen so much stuff on TikTok and stuff. I pretty much know what's going on. Shayna, Natalie, whatever.
Okay, you know. So, I watched the finale and I made predictions with my friends ahead of time of who I thought would get married, who I didn't, blah, 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 blah. You know what's funny? Watching the final episode, I didn't care because I'm like, this means nothing to me. What their decision was on decision day, I think that's what they call it on Married at First Sight. What their decision was on whatever the marriage day didn't matter to me because what I care about is where are they now? Because we know that was a year ago and so much happens between. So I wanted the reunion last week too, which we don't get until this week, which is annoying. So we've seen some spoilers now on TikTok and things come out. Basically, the only couples to get married were, I know no one's names, Danielle and Nick, I want to say his name was, and Jared, and I'm getting her name confused with that girl from 20-something. I want to say Aisha, but that's the girl from 20-somethings on Netflix. Jared and, what's her name? Love is Blind. Hold on, I'm looking it up on my computer because I hate getting people's names wrong. Oh, wait. Ayana. Oh, my God. I was going to say Aisha. That's the girl from 20-somethings. Jarrett and Ayana, they got married. Love them together. I think she seems like the best person on that show. Like, she's so cool and bubbly and just, like, nice. Actually, I shouldn't say that because there's a lot of nice people on the show. All the girls were pretty good except Shayna. But so I expected those two to get married. I actually called the Danielle and Nick thing. Is his name Nick? Hold on. Let me make sure I'm getting these names right, guys. Danielle and Nick. Yeah, Nick. Oh, I knew it. Okay. I knew they were going to get married. The way they left off that episode with him dripping sweat at the altar, I was like, they're trying to fake us out. Like 100% they're trying to fake us out because I know how editing works. I was like, these two are going to get married. Boom, they got married. Shane and Natalie, I was surprised because the way it was edited made us believe they would end up together. But now I'm hearing through the rumor mill that they were maybe fighting more than they showed us. Again, they leave things out to make us be surprised at the end. So that doesn't surprise me. And then Shake and Deeps, we all know how we feel about him. Let's be honest. I think I was so happy to see her get her power back, both her and Natalie, and be like, I'm worth more, because they both seem like incredible women. And the whole thing with Shake is I read through that man like a freaking book. At the end of the ceremony, when he got rejected, he was like, it's fine, let's party. His ego was so bruised, and he just like, that was totally his defense mechanism. You could tell he was really upset, and it kind of felt good. Revenge felt good. I know people have been bullying him like hardcore, so I'm not going to add to that. I mean, we all know his actions were questionable. We all know Shane was like twitchy McGee. But like, people are like, oh, he's on coke. Oh, he's on drugs. I'm not going to say. Like, I don't know. You could have a twitch. You could have whatever. Who am I to be like, yeah, you're on cocaine? I have no clue. Does it look a little suspicious when there's clips of him like snorting the air? Yes. There's clips of him like in the air. I'm like, okay. But I mean, it's what am I gonna say? We'll see how the reunion goes down. I believe him and Natalie are working on things in real life, so we'll see how that all goes. But overall, great freaking show. I already told the talent department team here at Barstool, I was like, if we have any opportunity to have anyone from that show come on my podcast, please, I want someone to come on. Now we're going to talk about the Euphoria finale. I liked it. Everyone hated it.
I hated it.
Okay, but like,
no,
isn't that what shows are supposed to be? Like, they're supposed to make us like feel things.
Not hate. The last episode of the first season was so good. This one was so bad. Nothing happened. Sure, okay, there was one big moment. Obviously, spoiler alert, if you're listening and you haven't seen it, stop watching right now.
Yeah, you have
to. Stop
to.
listening. Okay, Ash's death. That was a big moment.
Yeah.
But
and Fez getting shot.
Yeah. But besides that, also, the events leading up to that were so fucking stupid.
Mm.
Ash, he is obviously digging his grave by his stupid actions. And dude, like, Faye was clearly trying to help you guys. Mm-hmm. Why are you making it worse? Why are you such a dumbass? You saw him plant 10. Something. But he has been exposed to so much stuff. He should know by now. He's been in the game for so long. Like, he should know not to just be fucking stabbing anyone that they want to see.
Okay, I have a different opinion, but I love that because I love the back and forth. Okay, my opinion is I think way more happened than people are giving the show credit for. I think Rue, like, having her big moment of her skin was clear, she was sober, she was like, no, because you could tell they made her complexion look like healthier.
But what does that have to do with?
Because she came to terms with the fact, like, she was like, it was a big healing episode for Rue. Like, she really came far in her process of like her past, and like, I loved Lexi's play. Like, am I the only one that loves it? So
the play was great. I think a lot of stuff happened, but none of the events were of like. Were like had any meaning or purpose throughout the whole season. If you know what I mean.
Well, there's a lot.
Like, there's all these big events, but it's like, for what?
I was just gonna say that there's a lot left undone. Like, what happened with the suitcase?
Yeah, where's Lori? Like, how is she clean for the whole summer and no one's like coming to her door and being like, "Yo, you owe me $5,000." Like, what?
Also, what's this have to do? Like, I guess my biggest open-ended question is like, what's this mean for Fez's character? Because now what are we going to do? He's in jail for the rest of the show? Like, that's no fun.
There's too many unanswered questions that should have been wrapped up in the finale, and they just weren't. Jules had 2 words the entire episode.
But doesn't that make you now want to watch it even more the next season? Like, I think that's what a finale should be. Like, we're all like, what the fuck?
That's what my friend said. She was like, oh, well, this, like, just leads up to season 3. I'm tired of having every episode be like, oh, well, this is the build-up for the next episode. Oh, this is the build-up for the finale. Oh, this is the build-up for the next season. What are we building up to?
Like, you want some kind of answers.
I just want some answers. Like, I just want to know why there was so many events that literally led to nothing. Like Cassie and Nate. What did that lead to? Literally nothing.
I think a lot of it was more subtle than, like, overt. Yeah. Like, showing how Nate was so abusive that he, like, morphed his girlfriends into, like, looking a certain way and dressing a certain way. Yeah. Like, I think it was more, like, subtle. The whole thing I didn't get to, though, was Nate drunk driving with a loaded gun, and then the what are those things called? USB?
Yeah.
And then he doesn't even give it to his dad. But then the cops are there, and then he still has this loaded gun in his pocket, and he just drunk drove. I'm like, what does all of this have to do with it?
It just makes no... I don't know. There's just so many... To me, the biggest thing was unanswered questions. It's just there's so much stuff that just did not get answered, and it's like, what was the point of all of this? And then, like, the 3 minutes of Dominic Fike singing, like, don't give me that. And it's so obvious.
Everyone's so mad at that. I loved the song.
The song was good. I low-key hope it's on Spotify or something. But I think it must have been a filler for something that happened with Kat or something like that, because there's just no point of that. It felt like forever in the episode.
I kind of was thinking this is really long for a show. Also, though, sorry if you guys hear something, the heat's making a wonky noise in the background. Also, though, there was not really, like, a wrap-up with Jules at all.
None. She had 2 words the entire episode. It's like her entire plot line, like, everything that happened with Elliot, everything that happened with Rue, like, just for her to, like, go and sit next to her at the end of the play and be like, I still love you. Okay, bye. Like, you know, like, what? You could have had that happen during Elliot's singing. Like, something besides that point. And then poor Kat, like, her entire character was just totally thrown into the garbage.
I know, but was that her choice as well, or no?
Well, I
heard it was a disagreement between her and the director or the producer or something.
Yeah, I heard that she, like, Sam Levinson, I guess, like, I don't know, there was just a bunch of rumors that they didn't get along and she didn't like the way that he was taking Kat's character. I read that he wanted to give her an eating disorder and she just didn't want that. But to, like, just completely throw her character out, like, was just so stupid. And again, the Kat and Ethan, like, their entire relationship, she said she had a brain disorder and all this stuff, and then she's in the crowd, like, and no one's going to talk about that.
They dropped, like, 15 bombs this season, and then they never gave any of them a wrap-up.
Yes.
You
exactly,
know?
Yes.
You know what else I was thinking? Just, like, hole in the plot line.
Yeah.
When the machine guns were firing away, like, rapid fire, Faye would have gotten shot.
I think she was in the other room.
No, I know, but they go through the walls, those types of, like, she was, like, laying in the room next door. Like, and also, Fez would have gotten shot again, too, between all of that.
Yeah.
Like, it just was, like,
the biggest problem to me is that the show is written by one person, and that's Sam Levinson, and he clearly just does not have the skill to keep the show carrying on with just him. Like, he needs other opinions, I think, because you can only write a show for so long by yourself, and especially if people aren't getting along with you, like, I think he might have a big ego or something.
I was just going to say, it sounds like an ego problem.
Like, he needs to get a second opinion.
But, like, he obviously did something right. Like, the website crashed. HBO Max crashed.
No, I think it's still a good show, for sure. But I'm just really disappointed with how this season was. It had such high, to me, it had such high expectations because season 1 was so good.
Do you know, I almost think the opposite, because I'll tell you why. I binged season 1, like, in one or two sittings.
Yeah.
Whereas with this season, I think the hype of having a weekly show again made me more invested. And, like, we don't get that with shows these days. Like, things drop.
Yeah,
and
no, I totally.
we don't get that hype. So I think something about the way HBO Max had it, like, episodically, I felt more invested in the show this season.
Yeah.
And like even like seeing the memes and the tweets and like the way it rolled out to me, I felt more like a part of it this time around. If that makes sense.
Well, I watched it episodically for season 1 too.
Oh, see, I didn't.
Yeah.
So I had a different like viewing experience.
Yeah. So I think that's why
Yeah.
it's gotten so much hype on Twitter now, because like people aren't binge watching it. They're watching it live.
Mm-hmm.
So that definitely has a better aspect to it. But yeah, I don't know. I just really didn't. It was very underwhelming.
I liked it.
Yeah.
Which is so weird.
I know.
Because I actually hear everything you're saying, and I don't disagree, but I still loved every minute of it.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, like, I was watching and I was interested, and I thought it was good, and
I was sobbing.
The show, I didn't cry.
Oh, I was literally sobbing when Fez was like, no, I was sobbing during Rue and Lexi's conversation.
Yeah, that was sad.
That was really sad.
And they showed Rue's dad's funeral literally 10 times.
Yeah.
Like, how many times are we going to see Rue's dad's funeral? We get it. Like, I'm sorry. It's a big traumatic moment for her, and it's a huge, like,
storyline.
Yeah. Like, it's, like, the deep-rooted issue for Rue forever, but it's, like, stop cutting back to the funeral where we've heard her have this speech a million times. We've heard this whole scene a million times.
And my takeaway was she's accepting Lexi back into her life, and like they're saying sorry, like they need each other. Like I felt so much closure from it.
No, I like that scene a lot for sure.
I felt so much closure for Rue. Like I was like, oh my God, she's getting her friend back. She's getting her life together. She's forgiving herself.
Yeah.
Like,
it was a good like, moment, a good like final moment for Rue for sure. I think for her, it was good. Everyone else, like, what?
Yeah, I think the subtleties were really good, but the bigger storylines weren't. That's what it happened.
Yeah, and everyone was like, no, Ashtray. Like, I don't want Ashtray to die. He deserved it.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I was kind of like, this
you're such a dumbass. Like, if I was Fez, I'd be like, what the fuck is seriously wrong with you? Like, you just ruined everything. You literally just, and he doesn't speak. He didn't say one word. Like, I'm sorry. Like, you've been a good brother to me.
I just think he's raised so, like, Ashtray was raised, like, from such a fucked up, like, childhood that he doesn't even know right from wrong.
Yeah.
Like, he just is kind of like, oh, you kill, you do drugs, and you steal. Like,
it was just insane. Like,
the whole thing was wild. Also, when I watch shows like this and there's all this violence and stuff, I'm like, this stuff, like, who in your, I don't know. Like, it's just weird. I'm just like, all this happens in one school district, like.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
it's still good. It
was good. I was disappointed. I was very disappointed.
I'm going to a Euphoria themed party in a few weeks, and like I need a look. Like I'm gonna get the outfit, the
but there's
hair,
not even
the
like
makeup.
Euphoria theme. Like that's such a season 1 thing too. Like what happened to all that's like all like the neon makeup, cool stuff. That's all season 1.
Well, like that purple outfit was the season, and the eyeliner, and
what purple outfit?
The one. Like the purple and green outfits that they wore, like the matching 2-piece outfits.
Oh, Maddie.
Like I think, like Maddie. Yeah. I feel like Maddie's really like the Euphoria girly. Like she's like, okay, that's who you dress up as when you go to a party.
Yeah, totally.
So I'm gonna do like sick hair, makeup, and just look bomb.
Yeah.
Okay. I feel like most people will honestly like. I saw a lot of people agreeing with what you're saying.
Yes.
I'm just still in. I'm happy to have a show that is good. That I enjoy. Like, I feel like what I watch is, like, trash TV, like, reality TV, or stuff, like, I like Euphoria, because I'm not going to, like, sit at home by myself as, like, a single girl and, like, watch Yellowstone.
Right. Yeah, like, I like dramas. I like, more intense kind of shows like that.
Yeah. I thought it was good.
Yeah.
Funny, though. I love it. All right, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in this week. Don't forget, we are here every single Tuesday. Watch on YouTube, listen, Spotify, Apple, wherever. Don't forget to rate, review, and email me. We will be back next week. Thanks, guys.